Hello and welcome to the worst best PC cases list in the known universe. Great, now we've got that covered, let's imagine you're building a new rig and you're looking for the next PC case to house it in. You've been busy, so you haven't kept up with all the latest releases, but you know top 10 and best of lists are prevalent these days, so you fire up your old machine to get caught up. Let's give what are the best PC cases a shot, you say. And at the top of the page, Google throws you the best PC cases in 2023 by pcgamer. Well, shucks, you say, followed closely by, that's exactly what I was looking for, before drifting off into deep thought and the amazement about how search engines work. Long story short, after some time you get around to reading the article and find the best cases tried and tested for you by the angels at pcgamer, and put your money down for the best of the best via the oh so convenient affiliate and associate links plastered throughout the article to the online store of your choosing. I mean, they deserve something back, right, for all the effort they put into providing you with such valuable, reliable, dependable, concise... Alright, that's enough. This thing is a complete dumpster fire filled with dubious claims, misleading information, the laziest of the lazy research and reporting the industry has to offer. I mean, that is not hyperbole by any stretch. It's the god-honest truth, and we're going to spend the next 20 minutes breaking down why pcgamer should cease their efforts in the PC case review space, massive inverted commas for that, or buck up their ideas before even attempting to paste another damn affiliate link adjacent to the spew they call a review. And that's buck up with a B, by the way, if you're listening pcgamer. I'd hate to see it get much worse, but regardless, you don't need the encouragement. Now, before we get into it, let's take a step back to consider all the effort that goes into the reviews that you appreciate, but more so the people behind the reviews that you appreciate, and show some love. It takes a lot of effort and patience to do this properly, so if you've got a spare few minutes, go and post a comment to whoever you appreciate most in this space and let them know they're valued for all the passion they bring for us as viewers. Because pcgamer sure as hell doesn't. Let's get into this. Unfortunately for me, this was supposed to be a quick, hey, let's poke some fun at the expense of a seemingly shill-based, not to forget, definitely dishonest article. That'll be some fun and worth highlighting as a micro PSA. But the more I looked at this article, the more things that kept standing out as strange, and the more I felt compelled to keep going to gather all the weird things I stumbled across for you. We're going to run through the highlights of what makes this article so, for want of a less inflammatory word, insulting, or laughable depending on your perspective, but let's lay the foundations first. What are the general issues that I have with this article? Number one, it's misleading and dishonest. I'll go into more detail on this in just a second, but they claim they've reviewed and tested everything on this list, and it's a sensible claim to have. But did you know, most of the cases in this article haven't been reviewed by them, and none of the cases in this article have been tested by them. None. Even the ones they reviewed. I take that back. They've tested one of them, and it's a real doozy, so stick around for that one later. You think the big boys with all the adverts, I mean a third plus of this page is just adverts, all of them, would be able to handle something like that, or at least be open and honest about it, or just not lie. Actually, on the contrary, it seems the bigger the company, the less open they tend to be. Anyway, number two, all of the cases in this list are expensive as heck. Despite price being something they highlight many times as one of the main problems with each of the subjects of this article, and right at the top they state there are many options at different prices, apparently nothing below £100 can be considered the best in any way according to pcgamer. They couldn't even be bothered to make a category to include a single more affordable case than, I think, £130? Here's the average on the screen now of the price of all the cases on this list. This is all capped off nicely with a list of associate and affiliate links at the bottom and sprinkled throughout the article. You actually need to call them associate links, not affiliate links, otherwise Amazon gets angry. The other ones, so scan and everything, whatever they want. There's even one above the title, can you believe it or not? This leads to the question, are these actually the best cases they've, and let's put some inverted commas in this one, reviewed and tested in 2023, more on that later, or maybe just the most profitable cases to make money via links in 2023. I imagine the next point may have been an intended feature to give some license to fit in all of these expensive cases. Number three, Much of the article is extremely vague. The categories created are ambiguous, that's okay, but the cases selected as the best for each category are just as questionable. They don't reference any runners-up in any categories as if they've considered any other options, and the reasons to buy and avoid are tenuous at best, often stepping over the line into comical. Don't worry, we'll be covering those shortly. You also have to do a lot of the legwork yourself to make what they're claiming work, or at least wince through as you ask questions, but you'll rarely get any clear answer from the article itself. The single question, why is this simply the best, better than all the rest, will break the webpage. The word best in itself needs a lot of explaining before you can start getting specific. The main common factor that stands out is that most of these cases are big and or expensive, minus the only ITX case on this list, which is still horrendously expensive. So by best, we're mainly talking so big, not to forget expensive, that they can fit almost anything inside. It's actually funny that they start off the article and round off the base of the article with a FAQ saying, oh, what can fit inside my case, when these are just so massive. That's never going to be in the FAQ. Anyway, speaking of lists like these, I've made some videos along these lines, but with more honest and relevant titles to the content provided, like least compatible ATX cases and most compatible ITX cases. These are videos that are very honest and specific about why each has been chosen, driven by actual data. So as promised, let's highlight some examples of this from what I would argue is a dishonest shill article in equal proportions. Let's start the analysis with a quick scan of the introduction to get to grips with what's being presented. There are some pretty pertinent points to be gleaned from it. I won't read the whole article due to the amount of filler included, and just for fun, I'm going full pedant. You can determine where the line gets crossed. I'm also assuming fair use would apply as a good defense to the amount of this article I'll be showing, because I'm going to criticize the hell out of it. Link in the description if you want to read anything I've shown in this video regarding to articles. So, the introduction starts with, the best PC case is a place your hardware calls home. It's the platform for your ultimate gaming rig and a showpiece simultaneously. Besides looks, a PC case needs to have room for modern components, making upgrading or maintenance easy. There are many options at different prices, some keep the look modest and others make it scream with loads of RGB lights. Now, I'm not sure I could have written it to be any more obvious than that. Sticking to the theme of pedant, whatever case you have is where your hardware calls home. It might not necessarily be the best, or whatever best means to you. And continuing with obvious stuff, of course a PC case needs to have room for hardware, modern or not. And of course there are many options at different prices that offer a whole host of looks. That's kind of the filler I'm going to gloss over from now on. So skipping some of the fluff, pcgamer end the introduction with, here are the best PC cases we've tested this year after building them up and down and checking them for fire hazards. And that is a load of old bollocks, because most of these cases are much older than this year, like the Silencio S600 from 2019, which they haven't reviewed, the Fantex Evolve X from 2018 that they also haven't reviewed, and to save you some time, they've only reviewed 4 of the cases on this list of 9 cases that they've apparently both reviewed and tested. The ones they have actually reviewed here are the Corsair 5000T, reviewed in February 2022, the Cooler Master Cosmos C700M, reviewed in 2018, and the NZXT H1 V1, reviewed in May 2022. And the other one is the thermal take case, although I haven't written that one down. Anyway, only one of them was reviewed in the last 12 months. So, in total, 2 of the 9 came out in the last 12 months, and 4 of the 9 they've actually reviewed, so they're already objectively 66% wrong in the opening description of the article they wrote. Actually, not just wrong, completely dishonest. And they claim to check for fire hazards. We've got little to no evidence they put a system inside all of these cases they review, let alone searching for fire hazards. I mean, that's probably written off the back of the various GN videos and articles they've done where they actually do find fire hazards, so it's distasteful to claim anything along those lines. Not that they're seriously claiming it, but they kind of are. On that note, what is very suspicious is they don't seem to provide any performance figures for any of the cases they review. So I need to be prepared to eat my words here. They do actually do testing, but it doesn't appear that any of it is standardized. For instance, let's take a look at the Corsair iQ 5000 TRGB mid-tower case review that they did. Opening into the testing section, there isn't actually a section for testing. You just have to sort of read through and find the testing bit. It says, for my testing, I settled for a triple fan radiator in a pull configuration up top and 3 included LL120 fans located in the front as they were out of the box. To keep the airflow whizzing past my PC components, I opted for a 120mm fan on the rear. Now, what's one of the funny things about this is that it doesn't appear that they do any other setup testing. So for the Corsair 5000T, one of their issues is there's no rear fan in the box, but what they ended up doing was throwing in a rear fan from an old NZXT build. So they don't have any leg to stand on asking for a fan if they don't really know what the performance is like without that rear fan. What's also funny is they also admit that the triple fan AIO that they were using in this case was always going to keep the 5800X in good check, their words, and it seems a little bit funny to throw on such a massive cooler onto any CPU and not really have a benchmark of what a bad performance looks like. They don't actually provide any graphs comparing to other cases. They just say, hey, here is the result in this random build we seem to do. Throwing in a random NZXT fan in, I don't know whether the cooler, the AIO they were using, is their official testing AIO. There's no reference to any of this. Frankly, they may as well not bother with testing because there's no value in any of this. It's all just nonsense. I was going to move on quickly, but I have to mention this. The temperatures they give mean absolutely nothing. For instance, the results are pretty level at 81 degrees Celsius under load for the duration of the test, which is a comfortable baseline for temperature in my books. I don't know what the rest of his books look like, or his book looks like. Nobody really does. I don't know if any of this is standard. The reference for the AIO doesn't say what AIO is. There's no reference to necessarily if there are any fan curves during the testing that they were using, so we're not 100% sure whether the fan curve for the GPU perhaps is the hotter it gets, the more cooling it gets, higher fan speeds. Same for the case fans. We don't necessarily know, and because there's no standardized testing mentioned anywhere, this is all completely pointless. 81 sounds fine, but I don't know how loud it was. I don't know how what the voltages were of any of the components. Were they all the same throughout the testing? Did they change anything? No? All right then. No wonder they managed to review all the latest stuff. I'd do quite well at pcgamer if I too didn't care much about important information like performance or, let's say, quality in general. On a side note, it's also interesting how they include very stock-looking images of cases they're referring to, like the C700M review, which aren't credited to anyone. And any images that do look like they've been taken anywhere outside of a professional studio or by the manufacturers are credited to Future. More on that later. Thankfully, we're past the introduction. So let's back up the main issues I have with this article with some evidence. Right off the bat, the first category is the best full tower case for flashy builds. Why is the C700M the best for this? Who knows? They don't explain it. But according to pcgamer, your system will be less flashy if it's in any other full tower case than this one by the definition of the word best. In the reasons to buy, you get a GPU riser cable. In the reasons to avoid, you get a last gen GPU riser cable. Do they explain that's not really a big issue since most hardware doesn't need that kind of bandwidth? No, actually, they have reviewed this one. I might have stitched myself up here and there'll be an explanation for it in there. Oh right, no it isn't, because the review from this case is from 2018 where that wasn't really even on the radar, and they claim they've tested this case this year. Anyway, the main body of the text for the C700M is a very generic description of what that case is that anyone could have written by looking at the specs and the pictures. Amazing work, guys. Actually, on a very rare occasion, I ran this one past my patrons first, and Toto said that he wouldn't be surprised if AI wrote this article, and yes, I can imagine if you did add the marketing material into an AI program of sorts, they probably could make a PC Gamer review. Probably a better one. Okay, so it gets a little bit better. So in the Cooler Master C700M marketing material, the English isn't amazing on this either, but the unique frame design supports a conventional chimney inverse layout or a fully custom. That's really bad. Or a fully customized layout. Yeah, they need to remove layout from after inverse, but copy straight across to PC Gamer. You get to choose between a conventional, inverted, or chimney-style motherboard tray. So, love to see that chimney-style motherboard tray. Other amazing reasons to buy and avoid these best of 2023 cases include the NCXT H1V2's extra cooling, and great to build into, followed by doesn't support tall RAM modules and large initial outlay. Do they mean layout? It's also better than any other ITX case for some reasons that they don't explain. But the RAM comment is particularly amusing since they explain that their Alder Lake test system that they installed into the H1 uses Corsair Dominator DDR5 sticks, which are too big. Now, while it's nice to know that information as a viewer and somebody looking for information on the case, it's not actually a problem for PC Gamer since they never intended to run the test system in the case anyway. Well, not past getting the lights on for some pictures. Okay, I'm starting to take back the testing that they do. I've checked 2 other cases of theirs that they reviewed in this list, and there's like one reference to the word test, and I can't find anything to do with performance figures. So I think one of the guys they have working for them just happened to put a system inside one of these cases and turned it on. So yeah, this NZXT one, all they say is it didn't fit, and that's just about it. Anything? No? This is ridiculous. But I can't move past that point without highlighting that if you were planning to make a test system for cases and coolers, maybe think twice about choosing one of the tallest sets of RAM sticks you can find. Test systems are about consistency and compatibility foremost, not good looks. Test systems absolutely can look great, amazing, the best looking case there can be, but that really does need to take a back seat, so you could make sure that you can actually install a test system into pretty much anything. So, but they didn't plan to test it anyway, so no skin off their backs. On that note, the Phanteks Evolve X, reasons to avoid mediocre thermals. Have they reviewed it? No, they haven't tested it either. So, much like my reliance on them to make an article for me to sponge off, they're relying on other creators to assess the thermals for them. I swear I've heard that the thermals are bad in this thing though, so maybe they're just trying to save face with mediocre for some reason. Only 4 stars for the best dual tower case of this year, up your game manufacturers from 5 years ago. Did you know the Cooler Master S600 is the best silent case? Apparently the sound dampening material is quality, and they wouldn't really know that since they haven't actually covered this case in any way, shape or form prior to this article. That's a bit of a stretch, I know, but I think heavy and thin internal paneling being reasons to avoid is a little contradictory in itself. I wonder if they've ever thought about weight being a factor in noise reduction. Also, ironically, this case is the joint second lightest case in this list, and is regarded as heavy to be a reason to avoid it. Anyway, they might have refined this a little better if they'd, reviewed the case, but what do I know? Apparently they've reviewed and tested all of these cases according to the top of this article, but strangely, it's very hard to get a hold of those reviews and test data. On a side note, I'd feel a lot more confident if they had reviewed the S600 before commenting on its noise reducing ability. Ironically, I think we've all seen and heard of, and I've tested plenty of supposedly silent cases that are ridiculously hot and require fan speeds that make them, practically speaking, noisier than high airflow cases. The devil's in the details, PC Gamer, or should I say Dave? That's the writer's name. The Corsair Obsidian 1000D is a bit of a funny one. It's hard to say that all of these are reasons to buy relating to a spacious case and then say it's a reason to avoid it. I mean, if someone is looking to install a crazy EATX and ITX dual system into a case along with dual front 480mm radiators, I'd say they're barking up the wrong tree if they then turned around and complained about how big their case ended up being. It's like complaining that a truck that can shift 10 tons of, apparently wood coal, is a bit big. The reasons to buy and avoid should at least be relative to each other and the case itself, in my opinion, not isolated without context. Oh, come on, PC Gamer. Or should I say Dave? A reason to avoid the Dark Base Pro 900 is the position of the power supply unit. That's your hard limit. I mean, sure, there might be some people that avoid it for that reason. Probably those crossing the same circles as people who avoid it for giving them funny looks. Does the weird power supply unit position impinge on the functionality of the case? They wouldn't know since, again, say it with me, they haven't reviewed it. Okay. They said a reason to avoid the O11 dynamic is a lack of fans. Now, I can agree with that, sort of. Some context would be nice, and maybe some mention of the price of included fans and acknowledgement that regarding whether people getting a case would stick with them or not would be good. But that's just too much work for you when you can hypothesize arbitrarily while reading a spec sheet and looking at some pictures from Newegg. And finally, the Thermaltake Series 500. Is it Series? Might be Series. Which they did actually review. Few and far between, it seems. It's apparently the best case for keeping your components cool. And to no surprise, looking into the actual... It's not a review. What they call a review, it starts, I'm going to say, the testing comments section with, as if it's want, and then continue to say, it's able to house a 420mm top-mounted radiator in addition to a front-mounted 360mm one, meaning it'll have no problems handling the hottest components. Now, have they tested this? No. How can they comment on this, not testing it? Nobody knows. Shut it down, guys. PC Gamer can just look at a case to know how it performs. Shut it down. No. Tech Power Up. Stop trying to test cases. There's no need when PC Gamer have special powers that could save you hours of work. If only they were just willing to teach us their ways. As it turns out, I actually used to have a test bench much similar to the Tech Power Up test bench, but I opted to step away from a low-profile downdraft cooler as the staple since it doesn't take advantage of any case's larger cooling clearance capability, so there's a bias towards smaller chassis that provide a more directed airflow profile, I guess, over the cooler. I mean, if a case can take a 170mm cooler and you use a 65mm downdraft cooler, you're leaving 100mm of cooling potential on the table that smaller cases wouldn't be able to provide. ITX boards also have a fairly significant socket placement difference between an ATX and the micro ATX boards, which again will act a little differently, although they do mitigate that somewhat with the downdraft cooler approach. But hey, they went for maximum compatibility, and that's an approach I can respect. I mean, just look at the RAM. It's a very sensible size. There's no right way to test PC cases accurately. It's pretty much impossible to get a perfect handle on it due to the variability of cases. As long as the methodology is consistent and explained, it's good enough. But back to PC Gamer, they didn't even try. So let's wrap this up. I'm pretty sure I've left a lot of stuff on the table here. I know I have. In my opinion, PC Gamer is willfully dishonest in how it reviews cases. Oh, Christ, no, that wasn't the point of this video. Back to the article in question. They claim to test cases, and they don't. The part at the lower section of the article is a real kick in the teeth to those that trust, or hopefully now, trusted PC Gamer. They say, why can you trust PC Gamer? Our expert reviewers spend hours testing and comparing products and services so you can choose the best for you. Find out how we test, and then there's a link through to the other article mentioned earlier. I say don't trust PC Gamer on anything relating to case reviews. You have been weighed, you have been measured, and you have been found wanting. But yeah, those FAQs in this article, if they're honestly relating to will this fit in this case kind of stuff, they're clearly fooling most people into thinking PC Gamer is providing highly valuable and trustworthy information. Spoiler alert, I don't think this is a real FAQ of this article. I think they clearly just made it up. So, Dave, up your game or stick to the nightmarish graphics card market, CPUs with more cores than sense, and gaming laptops hotter than the sun, because as it stands, your services here are surplus to requirement, and they're doing more harm than help. Just on a side note, I just want to explain this. I am not shitting on the little guys here. I am very much punching up. The main writer is, according to them, heavily experienced, and there are contributions from another with seemingly very little experience based on this his PC Gamer bio, and there's another with masses of experience in the industry according to them. So whatever this is, it's a well thought out article. What's really interesting is PC Gamer is part of Future PLC, as is Tom's Hardware, who brought out an article on the 15th, 8 days before this PC Gamer article, with an extremely similar title leading with Best PC Cases 2023. And no, I'm absolutely not going to go through the same process with Tom's Hardware. Although at a glance it does seem better, there's still some obvious problems there. There's literally no overlap in these lists. At least the Tom's Hardware article chose a more affordable set of cases, or potentially more accurately, at least whoever dished out this list to Tom's Hardware gave them a more affordable set of cases. I'm being very skeptical here. This might provide some insight into either the target audience for both publications and or their existing audience. Maybe there are some bigger spenders that spend more time on PC Gamer, not so many on Tom's Hardware. Who knows really, I'm just not a big article reader generally. This also provides some insight into why most images that look like they're not from a studio are credited to Future. They're essentially crediting their overlords. So there we have it. I think we've thoroughly trawled through why this article is vague, misleading and dishonest, and potentially a complete shill article with the main intent to drive up SEO. Not that they can actually lead anyone to much of their own work, so yeah. And above all, they're providing nice and expensive links backed by an article encouraging you to buy the expensive ones because they're the best, and if you don't buy them, you're getting something worse. So, hopefully that covers that. I would like to say if enough of these kind of videos were made that there would be some positive impact that maybe articles like these might improve in quality. I don't think that will happen. I don't think anyone of any importance will pay attention to this, but I don't know. If anything, it's just a bit of fun and to say, hey guys, if you're looking for the best cases, these lists are not where you want to be. So, thank you for checking this one out. This one took way longer. I think it's an easily 20-minute video, this one. It took way longer than I thought it was going to be. It was going to be a quick, maybe 10-minute fun one, but I just can't help myself. I don't like leaving things on the table, especially when I think they'll have a negative impact on people. So hopefully PC Gamer will up their game. If not, they will just shut down their PC case review stuff, because as far as I'm concerned, their reviews, you could literally write them without owning the cases. You just need to have a look and upload some stock pictures for half of them, it seems. So there we go. I think now is a great opportunity to take a step back and appreciate how much time and effort it takes to do anything properly, and making any content for anyone in any shape or form that is done properly and thoroughly. But specific to testing cases, yeah, it takes, compared to doing something like PC Gamer does, it takes... It's so insignificant to do what PC Gamer does. Anyone could do it with any prior experience with a few different cases. You could just look at some pictures or get some pictures from somewhere, have someone take pictures for you, and just make some comments based on previous experience and be like, oh, it's got a very open mesh front, therefore the perfect performance. The Q300L, Q500L are perfect examples of that not being the case. I wonder what PC Gamer did for that. I'm going to look at it quickly. Yeah, just found an article on it. Great little point here. However, if you are looking to be more frugal and devote more of your budget to things like a GPU, CPU, RAM, and storage, the things that actually make a difference to your gaming experience, an inexpensive case is the way to go, and it does not get much cheaper than this. So that's just clearly have zero experience about how poorly this performs thermally. And they're making a recommendation of, hey, this is a great option, go check it out, when really everything overheats to the nth degree. And hilarious. Yeah, PC Gamer, terrible, absolutely terrible. So there we go. I don't want to stall this too much longer, but definitely just go out and show some love to all the people, and you know who they are in your circles, that really put the best foot forward in trying to get you the best content to show you what's good and what's not. So yeah, I don't want to name specifics because I don't watch a huge amount of case review content, that kind of thing, because I try and stay away from it. I do enough of it myself, and I don't want to get influenced by others. So you know who's good in your circle. So yeah, show them some love. I don't want to show myself too much here, but I put a lot of effort into mine. I hope you really maybe if you appreciate that, understand the importance about how much effort it does take to do that stuff consistently, accurately, all that stuff. So yeah, show a bit of love to all the guys doing that stuff. I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you stick around. Subscribe if you want to maybe hear more like this. Let me know in the comments if you really like this one, you'd like to see more like it. If you want to see me review anything in particular, please let me know. I'm going to try a really, really cheap case for a bit of fun next time. And yeah, I'll leave it at there. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me, and I will catch you all in the next one. Bye-bye.